Just a little Zoom tip to see the speaker best so you can see art. You want to click speaker view versus gallery view. Gallery view gives you all the little screens and there's lots of distractions. So it's easier if you can find the speaker view. So when Art's talking, you can just see Art and the gang. Other than that, I'm just gonna give it over to you, Art. Are you ready?
Yeah.
All right. I'll keep letting people in.
Can they see Barkley? Barkley, you got to look at.
We can't see Barkley.
Can't see him?
No.
Get on your lap, Art.
He'll probably try to get on my lap throughout this or something. I don't know. We're really ready, huh? Remember when we used to have like events and announcements? I think that we'll have some of those coming up soon about what direction things need to go, or what Battlefield is heading to next, and how we're going to transition to the new stuff we're doing, if we are doing stuff, or what we are doing. So I think maybe we'll have to put together announcements for that coming up. We have a board meeting coming up. When is that? Next week or something?
Yeah, I'm trying. Sorry, Art. I'm trying to figure out how to put you in Spotlight. It's not letting me. So let me give me just 1 sec. Spotlight. There we go. Got it. Okay, we're good.
That's better. Yeah, let's go around the room to see all the
Hey guys.
parents. Okay.
Hey guys. There's everybody.
All right. So anyways, yeah, we'll have announcements after the board meeting about direction. We have no clue. Generally right now, we're just trying to, with COVID and everything, it makes it tough to plan things. So after we get through with the board and discuss what online things we can do, and we'll have announcements coming up soon. Okay, are we ready, Ange?
We're ready.
There's nothing else? Are you sure?
Yep.
Okay. I think that what I'm going to do, just to kind of show you what we're working on in this house, and what the kids in the program and I are spending our days kind of doing. I'll just tell a little like story of kind of recovery, or what's happened for me. I think that when we, and I want to give a definition in terms of what I'm saying before I go. And the thing that you're going to hear me say tonight is, you're going to say, you know, we're going to define the difference between my life and my story. And I think that what will define my life is now, this current moment. Whatever's going on, this is my life right now. No past, no future, and that's my life. And my story is this past and future character that I play. So I think that what happens is we start out when we're kids and we're living our life. Generally, we're content and we're happy in the moment and we're living our life, and that's what starts out, is that we begin to live our life. And so when we see kids and we see them playing, they're not worrying about tomorrow, they're not worrying about the past, and they're just living their life. And it's beautiful to see people living their life, and they're free. And I think I lived my life up until if I can like really remember correctly, I think I was like 11. And at like 11 years old, I remember it was around 1985 or so, and there was a movie that came out called The Day After, and it was this movie about what would happen if nuclear war came into play. And this movie really scared the shit out of me. So after that point, it was the first time that I can really remember worry coming into my mind. And so I would go to school, and I remember sitting on the bleachers watching people play basketball, and I heard a plane go over, and I thought that we were getting bombed by the Russians. So I began to think all the time, worry about, can somebody go shut that dryer off? So all of a sudden and at around that same time as a kid, my folks fought for the first time. And so at school, I began this thing where I wasn't living my life at school. I wasn't, and my life being the current moment. And instead, I was living my story. And so I would be at school and school would be happening or playing would be happening, and I was living my story. That began this transition from almost never ever living my life anymore and just continuously living my story. And so, please, guys. We'll be up in a sec. And so, we got it? Phone's off?
Go.
What? Oh, the cursor. All right. Okay. So for me, you begin living our story and what that means, and it's this transition from actually this freedom place of living in the moment. Really, that's stop.
Sorry, guys.
Okay.
Okay, we're good.
And I think more and more we fall deeper and get into a deeper issue. I want to also define, what it feels like to live in your life and feels like to be free in the moment with no past and no future. And that's your life. And that was such a good feeling when we were a kid, to be able to play and just play and never worry about tomorrow or the past or what our identity was like or what people thought about us or what we look like or anything. And at 11 years old, I start living my story, and it becomes more and more difficult. But you're happy then when your story's going good and when there's not too much to worry about, and you're unhappy when the story isn't going your way and people don't think good things of you, and you want everybody to think good thoughts about you, and you want everybody to think you're special and everybody to think you know what you're talking about, and you don't want to fail. And so we start to transition from living our life to living our story. And it gets deep in there in the story. And in our story, there's fear. There's fear of loss. There's fear that people don't like us. There's fear that we're going to not have enough stuff. We're going to lose our stuff. We're going to make people angry, and they're going to say mean things about us. We're afraid we're going to die. We're afraid of all of it in our story. In our life, these things don't exist, because in our life, it's just the current moment. And so as I got to be like 15 and 13, 14, 15, for the first time from 11 to 13, I was living my story, and I didn't know it, but at 13 years old, my mother left for the night and alcohol came into play, and we were able to get drunk that night. And what I found in that night of getting drunk was relief from my story and back to living my life. So when I got drunk, there was no past and there was no future. There was just life, and I was living it. And I found that was a good thing for me. And that generally then turned into weed, and weed gave me relief from my story and brought me back to life. And so now all of a sudden I could smoke weed, and tomorrow didn't exist and the past didn't exist. And I had an intense experience and a really relatable relationship with the current moment. And boy, that was good. And then weed stopped kind of working. So I went to cocaine, and I started doing more cocaine, because cocaine, man, I could stay up all night and talk to people, and there was no worry about tomorrow. And the only thing you worry about on cocaine is running out of cocaine. You don't really generally worry about anything else. And so you just do it and you live. And we used to play Pictionary all night and stay up for a whole weekend. And my story didn't return until I woke up from that. And then when I woke up from those cocaine weekends, all of a sudden there was my story again. And the way to happiness when you're living in your story is to fix the story. And so it's a lot of work. And so now you have to make sure you have more money than people, and you have to have enough money, and you have to have a place to live, and you have to make sure everybody thinks good thoughts about you again, and you have to dress good because everybody cares what you look like. And so generally now you just start living in this world where you're trying to control everything in your story. And I got brief relief from that when I did drugs. And then about 26, I found opiates. And when I found opiates, what they did was give me constant relief. So at 26, I got constant relief from my story, and I began to find a way to live life. Now, it didn't look like I was living life. It more looked like I was sleeping or nodding off or whatever it was. But to me, that was a return to my ability to live my life. The opiates would allow for a place beyond worry, and a place where I could just live in the moment and not think about what has happened or what could happen or anything. And this opiate obsession that went on for a long time until about 32. And about 32, then crack cocaine came in because I wanted a more intense experience with the current moment. And I wanted more time, just 10 seconds. If I took a crack hit, I was living my life in that 10 seconds. It was just life. There was no past, no future. There was sounds. It was just sounds. And so it was sounds and experiences and feelings in my body and euphoria. And then I just chased that for 5 years, crack cocaine and opiates. And, every time the drugs are out of your system, what happens is they're out and you wake up from that, life's back, story's back. And so you wake up to your story. And what story does is it adds a mood to our life. So even if we're in the current moment, what you can see is that whatever's going on in your story of your life, even if you're trying to live your life, the thoughts, the mood, everything just keeps coming in. And so whether you're cooking dinner or whether you're at the Super Bowl or wherever you're at, your story is always setting the mood for your life. And so what recovery became for me, at first, it was just not doing drugs. So at 37, when I quit drugs, I didn't quit. I didn't return to life yet. What happened was I just started fixing my story. So I got this new, and the other thing about when we're living our story, from the time I was 11 to the time I was 37, it was all story. There wasn't really a life anymore. There was just, and that was only with drug use did I get this current moment relationship, but it still wasn't actual a current moment relationship. It was more of just sleep or more of just a way to get to obliteration. And what happens is that when you, at 37, when I quit drugs, I just flipped this, I just made the story better. I was still trying to control my story. I was still worrying about what everybody thought. I was still worrying about what it looked like. I was dramatically involved in the story of making my life better and making people think good things of me about what I've done with my life and helping people. And that I did that from 37 until 40. And there was no separation. There was no separation between my life and my story. It was just my story. 37 to 40, just my story. So I'm working on it, fixing it. And that set the mood for my life. It did. It set the mood. It made it a little better. It made it bearable. But there was still suffering. So about 40 years old, I find Eckhart Tolle, and Eckhart teaches us about the power of now. And he was the one that gave me the distinction between my life and my story. He said that in his book. He said there's a difference. And so I begin this active movement or this thing to separate me from my story. The other part about our story is this self-centeredness. We, in our story, we're the number one character. We are the main character in our story. And in our story, life kind of happens to us. It just happens to us. And then we deal with it after it happens to us. And so in our story, we kind of become a victim in our story. And we feel what life is doing to us. We just feel what life is doing to us. And the other thing about living in our story is it's an absolute prison. I would really like to encourage any of you to try to get out of your story tonight. Really try to get out of your own experience right away. Try to get into somebody else's experience. It's impossible. So we're just kind of trapped in this story. And from 37 to 40, I felt trapped in it. And I felt the only way out was more. I felt if I had more and I got better, then somehow that was going to equate to relief, but it never did. And so finding Eckhart and finding out that there was another way to get relief, and it was instant. And what it meant was if I took a breath and I used my senses, I could find this like separation or this clearing. He also said that we can, instead of being our story, we can be a witness to it. And so there was this other position I could take. This brief movement would put me as a witness to me rather than being me. So that was what I found at 40 years old. I found that if I could use mindfulness, if I could breathe, if I could study this Buddhism stuff, if I could wake up, I could see there was a definite difference between my story and my life. And if I could just be in the current moment with the relief from thinking about my problems, my money, my image, my whatever it was, if I could get that relief, I could get it through the breath and I could get it through mindfulness. And it worked. And generally, I was getting little breaks throughout the day. And as this was going on, I was also still working on my story. So it was getting better. So that set the mood for my life. So now all of a sudden you got a better story and a better life, and you're kind of working with both hands. You're like, well, if I get my life better, it kind of, no matter what, there's more sunshine coming into your current moment, and it just feels better than when your life's going to shit and people don't think good things of you. And then I was kind of, I just worked on that for years, from 40 till now. And that's what I did. And generally things went pretty well for me. So my story was going pretty well. And that set the mood for my life, and it made it easy to be in the current moment, because you kind of get okay with who you are, and you get okay thinking that everybody thinks only great things of you. You don't really know that they don't. You don't know that they're actually talking about you, or that they're not so happy with you. You just don't know, because they might look at you and smile. And so everybody comes and looks and smiles and says you're great. And then that sets the mood. And all of a sudden it's easy to be in the current moment. It's just easy. You just sit there in your house and the mood is set, and there's not much to worry about, and you feel secure financially, and everything's great. Now, I thought that that meant that I had worked this great program and I'd gotten free. And never again was I ever going to have to deal with my story. In fact, I thought, oh man, through meditation and through reading and through being present and all this stuff, I've gotten to this place of freedom where I don't generally have to, where my story doesn't suck me back in. And I don't get to that self-centered position of life happening to me and explaining how I'm a victim or whatever it is. And then recently what's happened is that my story kind of changed, and it wasn't as comfortable, and it wasn't as good, and people didn't think great things and say great things, and it became difficult. And the story then took me out of my life and made it almost impossible for me to live my life, and rather sucked me directly into this self-centered position of it all being about me and this story of me. And then it became about control. It becomes about control. How can I make people understand that I'm good? How can I make people understand and not say mean things about me? How much can I control my image? How many, who are these people talking about me? Well, let me get them. Who are these people saying mean things? Well, I shouldn't have trusted them in the first place. And all that kind of stuff sucks you in. And then I found it very, very difficult for the last months to live my life, because generally now I was too worried about my story. And that was like exactly what happened when I was 11. Now, the difference is that I know now that there's a difference, and I don't have to use drugs to get out of my story. I can use the breath. But what I'm telling you is that if you don't do this every single day, when your story's good, your story's bad, this has to be an all day, everyday practice. It's like weightlifting. So now what I realized over the last 2 years, I wasn't weightlifting. I wasn't really actively having to work my program. So when the heavy lifting came, I was sucked back in. There wasn't freedom, and I couldn't find it. And the only freedom seemed to be that I could, if things were going good and people were saying nice things for one day, then it was good. And if things went my way, and that's not what we're after. And what we're after is this, all of us, I think, yes, of course, we're after love, and we're after acceptance, and we're after all this stuff, but we're also after freedom, and freedom from our story. And all these kids using drugs, and everyone using drugs. And this isn't, freedom also comes from our story in these other ways, these bad, harmful ways. We get free from our story for a little while when we obsessively watch TV. We get free from our story for a little while when we watch Game of Thrones for 100 episodes in 100 hours. And we get free from our story when we're eating for a minute, just gobbling down a cake or whatever it is. And we get free from our story when we shop, and we get free from our story when we're gambling. And for a moment, we can get sucked into that. And those are all just distractions or ways to use. And what I do know about myself is I don't use those things. In fact, all those things that I haven't used those under this time. What I've used is like the breath, but it's still difficult. And I've used sitting still, and I've tried to be there with it and eat the pain and all the stuff. But what I noticed is that it's still difficult. And I still must every day, when things are going good, when things are going bad, still work this active program of freedom from my story and actually kind of defining all day, am I living my story right now or my life? And where am I at? Am I in the garden or out in the yard just living my life? Or am I sitting there obsessing about what people think about me and sitting there obsessing about controlling other people or resenting other people? And, you know, resentment, it's always like somebody doesn't think good about me, or they don't think I'm, you know, great. So I resent them. And when I resent, then I want to just get that person cornered and tell them how wrong they are, or whatever it is. If I can only make them see how stupid they are, then I wouldn't resent them, or whatever it is. But it's all that kind of work of control that we do in our story, and all our fears and insecurities in our story. And that's it. Like the whole insecurity thing, all it is like, I'm insecure because my story doesn't feel good. And it's not about our life, because our life is like freedom from our story. Our life is over here, just this current moment when we're just like taking a shower. But now I really see that how much the mood is set by our story and how much it infiltrates our life. And so the other thing that I've noticed is that I still have this like witness position, even when the mood isn't great, even when my story's difficult. I still don't have to be me. I can be the watcher of me. I can just come up here in this position and sit there and watch this experience rather than having to have it. You know, so if somebody says like, I'm suffering from depression, it's like, no, you're not suffering from the depression. You're the thing that notices there's depression. So all of a sudden you don't have to suffer. You can just go, just notice. And so what I have done is just notice, I'm not having a difficult time. I'm just noticing there's difficulty. And so there's just difficulty. And I just kind of stay in this witness position, but I wasn't good enough to get totally free. I wasn't good enough to be able to just live my life throughout whatever it is I was living. And I can honestly say that I hope to do better. I hope to be less self-centered. I hope to be able to stay out of my own head. I hope to be able to generally be nicer and not get angry at people when my story isn't going the way I like it. And I'm hoping to get better in all those ways. And I just think it's important that people stop calling their life their story and vice versa, because your story has nothing to do with your life. Your life is this current moment, and your story is what you're working on and trying to control and obsessing and suffering over. But life is just here. And you can either just be here, or you can be obsessing and something, and we're doing all of it. We're like obsessing while we're here, and it's miserable. And so we're trying to be here, but we're obsessing about our story. And that's what everybody's kind of working on. And so even if your kid's out using tonight, you know, you're worried about your story, their story, your story, but you're sitting at home and you can't be at home because the story's not right. You don't know how it's going to end. You just worry. And so all the insecurities and all the fears and the resentments and everything. And so here, what we're trying to work on here is, you know, getting to this place where these kids can just work on their life. And when I mean that, just, you know, just the making of a bed, just the doing of the dishes, just the mowing of the lawn, and just work on their life without the addition of their story. And as their story starts rebuilding and changing, to be able to keep an understanding that every day they have to work on their life, not their story. Our story just happens. It'll just happen. But see, surrender means I just move over here and I just try to be in this current moment, and I surrender to life. My story is never going to be fixed. I'm never going to get it to the place that I want it. No matter what I do, it's never going to get there. And if they can surrender ahead of time before trying to go back, you know, get sober and then work on their story, well, there's going to be a bad outcome there. Because if you're not working on your life, but rather you're working on your story, when your story doesn't go your way, well, you're going to want out of it. You're going to want to get out of it. And our minds as drug addicts are hardwired to use. And so that's how we get out of our story. We get out of our story by using drugs, using gambling, using whatever it is that we're going to use. And so to teach these kids to this thing of, okay, your story sucks, it's miserable, we'll take a breath and just go over here and work on your life. And if we can do that, and if they can practice it every day, like I practiced it every day for 4 years, and then my story got good enough where I just rather just be in my story. It just kind of was more attractive to just stay over in my story about how good everybody thought I was, and how wonderful I am, or whatever, how many houses I got, or whatever it is. Just if it's alluring, but it's just as harmful. Even if the story's good, it's just as harmful, because that's where all the arrogance comes in, and that's where all the, then when it just doesn't go perfect anymore, you're shocked. And that for me was kind of an awakening, to come back to this thing where I have to use my recovery program, where I have to actually work on my life rather than work on my story, and to realize that I may never fix that, my reputation, my image, or whatever the hell that is, but I will always have this opportunity to live my life. And that just means that I can be free and come over here and sit and breathe and watch the game and eat and take a walk, or do whatever it is I'm going to do. And so this prison, and don't even think it's anything else. Your story, this kind of what Ram Dass said today when we were listening to him, was he said it's this collective psychosis, this group psychosis that we all been trained about what a good story is, and if you don't have a good story, then you need to work on it harder. And we've all been trained to get more stuff. And so generally what our story is about is stuff. Like whoever has the most stuff wins, and then we just all wake up and try to get stuff. And it's this big stuff competition. And then somebody goes, well, I win, I got all the stuff. And then that's it. And then why am I sad? Well, I lost some of my stuff. Well, why are you happy? Well, I got stuff. And that's just what everybody's doing, is the stuff competition over here. And then stuff has to be everything. Stuff is our girlfriend or our boyfriend. That's sometimes stuff. It's not love. This is my stuff.
Need stuff to get stuff.
Yeah. And then we go and we try to make money, but that's just stuff. And then that stuff buys us stuff, and whoever has the most stuff can buy the most stuff. And we just generally, and then even our parents are stuff. Our family members are stuff. And so when we get sad, it's because we lost some stuff. Oh, I don't have a mom anymore, I lost stuff. It's just like I lost my couch, I lost my mom, I lost my friend, my dog is stuff. And generally we just are all in this thing that a good life means we have more stuff than everyone. And then you just look at people as inferior when they have less stuff. And it's just not the case. It just doesn't matter. And I think that the ambition to have a good life means that we live our life rather than our story. And I think it's tough. And I think our story is a prison because of this group agreement that we all have, that you're not doing good if you don't have this or you don't have that. And then we're all in this group agreement about what a good person is. And then we're all like judging each other as who's better and who's bad. And then when we catch somebody making a mistake, boy, we're happy because we can pounce and say they're bad, and then we get to feel good. And so, generally we like it when people make mistakes, because then we can tell them how bad they are and how good we are. And so we're just like nasty over here in our story. We're nasty to each other. And generally it's just a matter of perspective if somebody made a mistake or not. It's just a limited viewpoint that somebody's looking from. And if you look from all angles, you see they didn't make a mistake at all. They were doing what they had to do, what occurred to them to do. And so, that's it. And what we're here, and I have found major difficulty in escaping my story when it's going bad, and not as much difficulty of escaping it when it's good. And I think that drug use is an alternative for a lot of people, rather than just breathing or praying And by the way, that means over here that maybe if you're living your life, you find a moment with God and that's your thing. And it's the same thing as what I'm talking about. Just says that's what you do to get out of your story and live a life that's not self-centered. And so I'm just as open to people that want to do that too. It's just we don't talk about what it is. It's just whatever's not your story, whatever's powerful, more powerful than that. And so that's just, for me, drug use was just this way out. And then all of a sudden, this way out of my story started making my story worse. And so I had to use more drugs to get out. And then I would wake up and my story was worse. So I had to use more drugs to get out. And then I had more consequences. So my story was worse. So every time you woke up from drugs, the story's worse. And people need to understand that, because that's why drugs don't work. Because generally we don't find people that can make their story better while using drugs. And that's kind of what we all wanted to do, though. We all set out to make our story better while using drugs, and we just couldn't figure out why it didn't work. Why doesn't this work? I thought that I could do cocaine and live in a penthouse in Vegas and sell big mounds of it, and everybody would show up and want to be with me. Instead, I was alone in my closet, hiding from the police. And that's just how it goes. And so, our only way out that I can see that is to live our life. And the only way to live our life is it takes attention. It takes awareness. It takes detail. It takes ambition to do that. It takes really this surrender to, I'll never fix my story. And so why am I even in there? What am I even doing over here? I'll never be happy by fixing it. I'll never be happy by getting it enough. There is never enough. And so you have to be convinced of that. And I'm still always not convinced. I still get over here, even knowing everything. I'm losing my stuff. So now I'm miserable. And so you have to then come over here and see if you can surrender the stuff. So, I think that recovery that's what it is. It's recovering from the obsession of our stories, recovering from the obsession of the control of other people and trying to make everybody think what you want them to think and do what you want them to do, and trying to get all that going on at the same time so you can just for one moment sit still. And the restless discontent that comes from the story not being right. Years of not sleeping because the story isn't right. And so it's a lot of work, recovery. And then it also has to add in a splash of responsibility. And it's not just responsibility like blame. It's not blame responsibility. Like, people don't understand, responsibility doesn't mean I'm going to say what I did wrong and do that. It can mean that. But responsibility means going forward, I'm going to prevent things that happen to me from happening again. So that's responsibility, is to say, okay, I see what happened, and I'm not blaming other people for what happened. I'm blaming myself and saying, here's how I blame myself. This happened and I won't do it again. I won't repeat that. So if I go outside and get hit by a car when I'm pulling out of the driveway, I'm not going to just, responsibility. If you're responsible, it's not that you go, that was my fault that I got hit going out of the driveway. You don't say that. You just go, I got hit going out of the driveway. I'm not going to let that happen again. So going forward, I'm not going to blame that guy and then just keep pulling out of my driveway without looking. I'm going to actually just say, I need to look more. It was my fault. I didn't look. And so responsibility for our lives doesn't mean we take responsibilities for our drug use and everything we did back there. And what we don't have to, you can do that, but you don't have to. It just means going forward. How are you going to own up? What do you do going forward to prevent what's happened to you from happening again? And so recovery has that tint of responsibility, hopefully a major tint to it. And then this separation from our story to our life. And if you can do both, if you can be responsible and separate from your story and move into your life and live your life and be responsible, that's recovery. So people that aren't in recovery, when we're not doing well in recovery, we blame. We be self-centered. We say life's happening to me and I'm a victim. And when we get into recovery, we take ownership We move forward and say, okay, I'm going to be free. That's not going to happen to me anymore. I'm going to own it, and I'm not going to do that again. And generally we do. We hurt people, and we also hurt people collaterally and without intention, and things happen, and we still have to own those things too. And we can say, I'm sorry. And no, in my story, I have done things that I know hurt people, and I don't want to do that anymore. So responsibility says I can't do that going forward. I don't want to hurt people like I hurt them before. Now, if I say that I'm responsible and I say I'm sorry and I do that, but then I hurt people going forward, I don't think that's it. I think if I'm responsible for what I did back there, it means I don't do it again. And so I hope that I can do things like that and work on all of it. And that's what I'm generally just talking about, is a recovery program. And I'm talking about what we're all going through. And, you know, if you're a parent and you're sitting home and your kid's out there, and how difficult is a parent to live life when they want to control the story? When you want to make the story good, you don't want your kid to be a drug addict. You don't want your kid to be out there on the street. You don't want your kid to be using drugs. So now what? Now you can't live your life. And what we're teaching here to parents is, how do you live your life rather than your story? And that's the relief, because you can't fix the story. And so it's for all of us. It's not just for people that use drugs. It's people that use other people that use being a workaholic, people that use shopaholic, people that use gambling, people that use everything. This is for all. The reason you use those things is because you want to take a break from your story. And notice that all those things that I named, gambling, shopping, they all make the story worse. None of them improve the story. So it's very odd that we do these things to get out of our story and live our life, but they always damage our story, which then sets the mood for our life. And it just is a cycle. And the only way out is to just be able to live your life without the concern of your story. And that takes recovery, and it takes work. And that's what we're working on. So we're open. That's all I have until the questions. So.
All right, so you guys know what that means. You guys, questions, thoughts, comments, here's your chance. And the way that you let me know you want to say something is there's a raise your hand feature on the Zoom app. And you just raise your hand and get in line. And then if you can't figure out where that is, no worries. You can unmute yourself and get my attention. You can wave your hands and get my attention, whatever you need to do. While we're waiting for the first person, let me there's two things. Number one, this Zoom link is going to be the same every week moving forward. I think some people think that it's changing every week, but it's been the same for a few weeks, and this is going to be the same link. So heads up, you can just save this link in your phone and you'll always have it. So you won't be scrambling at the last minute. And then there was one other thing I was going to make sure somebody asked me today, and it's not coming to me. When I think of it, I'll let you know. So who's first? Do we have any new people on tonight? A lot of familiar, friendly faces out there. Hi, guys. We've got Kaylee's dad in the house tonight, Art.
Yeah, I see that.
Tim, are you from New Jersey? New York?
No, Pennsylvania.
Pennsylvania. I knew you were over that direction. Really good to see you. I'm glad you're able to join us. I felt horrible last week when you came on and we weren't able to get the tech stuff figured out last week. So I'm glad you tried again. I'm glad you're here. I know it means a lot to Kaylee.
The Eagles are terrible, Tim.
I'm not an Eagles fan, so
Oh, good. Good.
no love lost there.
Yeah.
Hi, Dad.
Get over here.
Hi. Let's take a look at you. Where are you?
Let's
Get over here.
let's let everybody see the adorable Kaylee. There she is.
She's actually become our cook.
She is.
She's really doing well as the cook. She's mastered over easy eggs.
Yeah. All right.
Yes, bacon, over easy eggs, pancakes, French toast, whatever you want for breakfast, she cooks. she's
Her
good.
dinner last night, she made little sausages with leftover potatoes and peppers and celery. Oh my gosh, it was so good.
Mhm.
Getting really good.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah, we
Good
love to
stuff.
eat, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Well, that's good. Look great.
So welcome to the Battlefield family, Tim. Really glad you're here.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right. And Janine's in the house, Cameron's mama.
Can you see him, Janine?
Yeah, he said hi earlier. All right.
I think
So
it's.
who-
I think it's. Go ahead, Ange. You keep looking.
Yeah, I'll keep looking. So I'm looking for people with their hands raised, questions, thoughts, comments, anything you've got, guys, this is your chance. Go ahead, Art.
I think it's important to understand this clear distinction, because if you don't understand that all the suffering, all the insecurity, all the fears, everything is all in our story. And in that story, we're a character, and it's either going good for us or it's difficult. People think about that in the story. They think about, and we're concerned with who we are, and all the suffering is there. And to understand that on a deep level, then you would understand that the only true way out is either this current moment, God, love, whatever you call it, whatever takes us out of that and takes us out of it naturally, not using. And so if you don't understand that and you're just living your story and there's no separation, and the other relief is when we can move to this witness position and see ourselves in the story. So we either can move to this witness position and we can witness ourselves in the story, and we can be, instead of being the experiencer of the story, we can be the watcher of the experiencer. And we have that option. And then we have the option of total relief, which is living in the current moment. And it's hard to live in the current moment and be without story. It's difficult. So you got to practice. But if you don't understand that those two things are the only way out when it's difficult, you will have to use something to get out. You will use gambling, you will use food, you will use television, you will use anger, you will use complaining, you will use whatever it is that you will use in those cases. And so without this knowledge, use is inevitable. Use is probably bound to happen. So I think that it's important to see that there's relief, and the breath allows us to move to this witness position, or allow us to fully get to this place of living in the current moment, like when we're skiing down a mountain, or when we're in a tennis volley, or whatever would be happening, or playing basketball or whatever. But even those are like using. So I like to try to get there sitting still. Yeah.
And another good thing that like I learned like in the last couple of weeks is like you said that like no one can help you if you can't teach them something that they didn't know. And like something I didn't know that I didn't know is that like we all think we have a drug problem and stuff, but really it's a solution to our problem.
Yeah.
And really we don't even know what our real problems are, because we're so wrapped up in thinking that we just have a drug problem. That's what's causing all our like
That's good.
fucked up situations stuff. But really like we need to learn how to focus on what really caused us to start seeking drugs as a solution.
That's right. So what Casey is talking about is how this week what we discussed was that our minds do not have the answer. As drug addicts, our minds just don't have the answer. And if our minds had the answer, what's going on? You okay, Ange?
Yeah, I don't know what that is.
Okay.
Yeah, you're the only one not muted, me and you, so I don't know what that is.
Oh, I don't hear anything. I was just seeing you. Yeah.
Oh no, I just hear a weird clicking noise.
You're lagging too. Your internet's terrible.
Oh,
Yeah.
my battery might be dying. I'm gonna see about that, so keep going.
Okay. So what he's talking about is that our minds don't have the answer, and worse than our minds not having the answer, our minds think that as drug addicts, our mind, just like you guys as parents, your minds all think that your children are the problem. So as parents, you all think that your kids are the problem. And what you'll actually end up finding out as parents of drug addicts is that your kids have no longer become the problem. They're actually the solution. And so worse than them not being the problem, they actually start to become the solution. And what I mean by that is they start becoming this identity. So people become the mother of a drug addict, and that becomes their identity or part of the story that they fixate on. And so there's a fixation to when a parent have a kid that's an addict, that becomes the focal point of the story, which then actually gets them to the point where they don't have to worry about the other parts of their life, or they start letting go of the other parts of their life. And so that what happens is that distraction from their own life becomes a solution for their life. And so, or for their story. So as you can see, these kids here, what we talked about this week was how drugs work. Their minds, not only do they not have the answer, it's worse than not having the answer. Their minds think drugs were the problem. See, so if they just quit using drugs, they're still left with the story. But now they don't have a solution to get out of the story. So now they're stuck in one option. See, if you just quit using drugs, but that doesn't get you out of the story, but now you're just left with one option: go to work on fixing your story. And that becomes very difficult for a drug addict. There's a lot of barriers to fixing the story, and those could trip you up at any point in early recovery as you're going to fix your story. What if it doesn't go your way? Well, then back to drugs, relapse. And so the teaching that not only are drugs not the problem and your mind doesn't have the answer, not only does your mind not have the answer, but your mind doesn't even know the problem. And actually your mind, the drugs are the solution to get to relief from the story, but your mind doesn't even know that. Your mind thinks drugs are the problem. And so there's this whole idea that people go to treatment and all they have to do is stop doing drugs, and that's automatically going to do something. But see, the reason they started doing drugs was to get out of their story. And so now they stop doing drugs, but the story still remains. And people really think that as parents and as people around the person, we think, well, they should fix their story. They should get a car, they should get a driver's license, they should get a place to live, and that'll fix it. And then parents are always wondering when the kid relapses, why they relapse. Why did they relapse? They had a car, they had a job, they had a girlfriend, they had everything going, and why did they relapse? Because they never found out what the problem was. And they didn't understand that the problem was actually that they didn't live their life, they were living their story. So it's all this is working together to see that the only true way out is this higher power, whatever you want to call it, whether you call it the current moment, whether you call it love, whether you call it God, whether you say it's now, whatever it is, it's whatever this higher power is that takes you out of your story. And the higher power is the elimination of story and the elimination of that whole work. Do you have something, Ange?
No.
I think she's scared or something.
What?
Nothing.
What's going on?
You just seem very distracted.
Wow. No, I'm listening. There's
Okay.
nobody. Yeah, there's nobody in line though.
Okay. Well, so I think that it's, remarkable. And what Casey said was that to get help, we have to get taken to this domain of information called I didn't know, because what that means is my mind didn't have the answer. And then the program or somebody or something gave me this answer. And so now these kids have this clear distinction between their story and their life. And it's kind of a place to go. Well, where do I go when my story sucks? Well, you go to your life. Well, that's beautiful, because you don't go to drugs, and you don't go to the casino, and you don't go to the buffet, and you don't go to a bad relationship, and you don't go to whatever TVs, yeah, or we don't go to distractions. See, distractions are just as detrimental as anything else. So just a pastime, whatever you're doing. I think the only place to go is to your life, and the only way to get to your life is through these senses and through this connection and through this just working and cultivating this workable relationship with the current moment. How do I cultivate this relationship? And just so you know, your story will always be shining through and putting a mood on your life. It won't be a total elimination. You won't be able to just live in the moment. I don't know. Maybe you will. Maybe Eckhart does. I don't know. Maybe Ram Dass did. I don't know. Maybe some spiritual teachers have gotten to the point where their story doesn't infiltrate their life. But I haven't found that to be true. I found that your story of your life always seems to set the mood of your current moment. And it's tough to get all those thoughts of your story out of your head and just be free.
Absolutely.
You
Can I
know,
say one thing?
yeah.
I just wanted to say that your shares this time, I've been in the group multiple times now.
Mhm.
Your shares this time have put me to sleep better. I rest easier. They're meaningful and they're actually sending my head certain directions. In the video we watched this morning about EDSO, and the different chemicals that are released when we're put in different positions and everything, it's just like I'm really retaining a lot more because I'm not sure exactly why. It just is. There's so much direction in everything that you said this time, Art. So I just wanted you to be aware of that.
Thank you. I think that's Mr. Trevor Wolf. He's back from a 5-month hiatus of, he actually didn't worry about his story too much out there. Trevor was just kind of in the moment on the streets for 5 months. And,
Yeah.
you know, he didn't worry much. He didn't worry much about how hairy he was.
He didn't even know COVID was going on.
Yeah, he didn't even know COVID was happening. Here, so,
Just knew
yeah.
he needed to wear a mask because
Yeah.
everybody else was.
He just saw them all wearing masks and he just put one on just for the hell of it. Didn't even know why. But yeah.
There was a lot of people worried about him sharing his missing flyer and everything. So
Yeah.
he's very loved, but that's
Trevor
Trevor.
was at a place beyond worry. He was at a place beyond worry. He was living his life. And that's kind of what it does, you know, and that's why drugs are so effective, because they just eliminate our story just in an instant. Just bam, all the worries, all the concerns, everything. Facebook's not even important. I mean, it's just like gone. And you know, it's kind of amazing. Drugs are an amazing solution to get out of our story. They're just highly detrimental and they come with all these consequences. And so, you know, what I have seen is that you know, it's so important for a drug addict to have a place to go. And I don't mean physically, I mean mentally, to have a place to go, to be able to go, here's where I go when my story sucks. I go right over here to the breath and I just be, or I go right over here and I pray. And that's important, because there's got to be a way out of the prison, because our story is a prison and it's exhausting. And even now at 47 years old and wherever I'm at, the story of me is just the worst. It is the worst. It's the worst place to be. I don't care. I don't want to hear it anymore. I don't want my mind to tell me about it. I don't want my mind to do anything. I just want to live my life, not my story. And I don't want to talk about it anymore. I don't want to try to prove to people that I'm good and that I'm right. And the exhaustion of the last couple months and doing that has just made me realize more and more where I need to go, and I need a place to go, and that's my life. And I need to be free of my story. And it's perfect to be with these kids and see that they're doing the same thing, and we're all trying we all have the same goal of developing this place. See, as you do it and go over here outside of your story and go to your life, the place over there gets bigger. It becomes this more available place to go. And it's just a bigger available place that we can go be. And that doesn't, you know, I know that like being able to sit in the current moment and just be over there, I know that worries people, because they always say, well, what about tomorrow though? You got to prepare and you got to set goals and you got to do all that kind of stuff. And it's all, you know, in my opinion, a lot of it's all bullshit, because we set goals very quickly and we handle life very quickly. And we don't need all that time. What we're talking about living in our story, we're not really generally talking about goals and stuff. We're generally just talking about the filth of it. We're just talking about the slime of what people think about us and what somebody said yesterday and how our boss didn't give us the right amount of approval and how we didn't get the accolades and we should have. And we just kind of live over there like that. And it's all slimy, really. It's not pure. But really, when we're making things happen, we're over here in our life. When good things are happening, we're actually in our life. We're actually just like cooking a good meal or you know, playing basketball or running or walking or doing things like that, that the good things happen, listening to a great song and really feeling it. And that's where love's available. And our story has no love in it because our story is always worried about us, what people think about us and what this other person means to us and how the way they look affects me and do they look good enough and are they, you know, oh geez. Yeah. Miserable, you know. It's really a miserable place, my story.
Like what they said yesterday about selling your time.
Yeah. Bob Forrest. We've been watching Bob Forrest videos over here too. We're reminded of it, of the great storyteller Bob Forrest, and those have been good. Don't we?
Time is your time.
Yeah, and he told the kids that when they decide what they're going to do with their life, that they're just basically for 40 hours a week, we as humans sell our time, and you just find the highest bidder and the thing that you enjoy the most, and then you do that. So Cameron's been onto that. He's going to sell his time pretty soon. So
Heck yeah. Heck yeah.
yeah. No questions yet? I've talked a lot. I can't believe it.
None. Do you want to share a little bit about what you're doing there in the small intimate program?
Yeah, it's been really nice, and it really has gotten us to a point where we saw that we did with the big house and with everything that was going on, there was a lot of people helped, and we were helping on a wholesale level, and it was a wholesale program, and we were running them through, and it was a place where you can go, and it was a lighthouse, and it's beautiful, and it still is. But this program here really is intense, and we're really getting to know the people here, and oh man, getting to know how deep the obsession to use drugs can be, and how deep me jumping back in with kids that have 3 or 4 days sober, and really seeing how if you leave them alone, they'll try to get drugs, and then you get them through that period. And we finally, when we first started, we had, you know, drugs infiltrating the house, and it wasn't easy. And now we've cleaned the house totally, and we have 7 people here that are all sober and passing UAs fully, and it took a lot, and there's a lot that can happen in this little environment of how willing everyone must be to get along and work. And so we do groups in the morning. We do groups 3 times a day, and we watch a video 1 time and talk twice a day, and the rest of the time is spent doing chores or cooking, and maybe hanging out in the yard or doing the yard work. Or they also have these Suboxone doctors, and it seems like they're at an appointment for that every day too. So we have to do their appointments, and they got a lot of doctor's appointments, these kids. So we do that. And I just sit in this chair and we talk all day, and it's really nice. And these kids are doing amazing, and, you know, they're getting a new solution. They're getting a way to live their life rather than their story. And, you know the story is important to a lot of people in this group psychosis. We all think that some human being is doing well, not because they could still and be patient. We don't ever accredit that. We don't ever go, this guy's a great man, he sat still and is patient. We don't say that. We have to really equate a great man by how much stuff he has. And a great human being seems to be somebody with a lot of stuff. And so, you know, even parents that are watching their kids in the program, they're kind of saying, like, when's my kid going to get stuff? When is the kid going to stop spending my stuff? So it's this big thing where, you know, we got to get the kid on to having stuff. And I'm sitting here with them saying, I bet why don't you tell your parents that you're patient and you sat still today and lived your life? They might not like that as much as you got your driver's license back. So we're kind of having to manage all that, you know.
So sorry.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say this new program is called the Rebuild. And for anybody who wants information, just reach out to me. The beds are full right now, but we'll be keeping a waiting list when the next one comes, and rotating the kids through and different levels of care and whatnot. So for anybody wanting information, reach out to me.
I can't believe it. Why is everyone so quiet tonight?
I know, everybody is. It's a quiet night. What's going on? Tim and Kim are in the house again. Hey, guys. Pam and Dave are in the house. Sharon Buell's in the house. Troy,
Sharon on?
what's that?
Go to Sharon.
Hey, Sharon. Hey, Sharon. He's asking me to go to you. Can you say hi?
Yeah, I can say hi.
Hey.
I have somebody here too.
Is that Adam?
Is over there.
What's he doing? Get up, Adam. Come on.
Say hi, Adam.
Where are you at, Sharon?
I'm at home.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, at home. He came to spend a couple days with his mom and made jerky all day and just visited.
When are you going to quit losing weight? You keep losing weight.
No, I'm staying the same.
Oh, are you? You
Yeah,
look pretty,
I'm staying the
you
same.
look pretty healthy.
Yeah, I feel pretty awesome. Adam is he eats like his mom too, so he's feeling pretty awesome too.
Where's the old man at?
He's hunting.
Oh, my gosh.
I know he's hunting and he got a deer today, so I guess the family gets to continue eating.
Do you only get to get one deer?
Yeah.
So now you better come home and now he's just sitting up there drinking beer or something.
He doesn't drink anymore.
Oh, well, what's he doing?
He doesn't drink beer anymore. He might drink vitamin water or something, but he doesn't drink
Yeah.
beer anymore.
Yeah.
All right.
So yeah, so I thought I'd tune in and see how y'all were doing and just feel the love.
What do you think about the beard, Sharon?
I like it.
Okay.
I like it.
All right.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, I like beards as well. As long as they're well groomed.
Yeah.
Keep it well groomed. Don't let it get Duck Dynasty.
That's great advice, Sharon. Great advice.
So yeah, it's good to see you guys.
The only problem is that I would get stuff in it, like food or whatever it is that just kind of, I had egg salad in it for a couple hours the other day.
Oh, that's disgusting. Well, trim it
Yeah.
up. Trim it
Yeah,
up.
I did yesterday, but yeah,
Yeah, I like beards though. I do.
Yeah. Egg salad. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks for being here, Sharon. We
Thanks,
sure
Sharon.
appreciate the support always. Thank you. All right, who else is around? Let's see. We got Tim and Kim are in the house again. We got Teresa and Andrew Blaney. We got a lot of people. Elaine. We got Tiffany from Virginia. Hey, we got Tona, Roger, Lisa Breyer, the Wiggins, of course. Oh, hey, Sherry and Guy Pennington. Hey, guys, is this your first solution group? Yeah. Hey, guys, you want to say hi? I was trying to unmute you. Did it work? No. Well, we're going to see you guys on Thursday. Looking forward to your private coaching session.
I found the
Oh, there you
unmute.
go. There they are.
That was stressful. So good.
Hey, guys, welcome
What
to your
is all
first.
that contraption? Is that a drum set?
Yeah, we bought that for Brian when he was just a little kid. Yeah,
Oh, really?
he was into it for a while.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Are you taking notes?
Yes.
Oh, heck yes.
Oh, no. Yes, you're
That's why I don't have any questions. I have to process and kind of think things through. So
Yeah.
And
I'm
I'm
one of those.
I'm kind of telling her what to write down too. Write that
Okay.
down.
Okay.
That's great. That's great. Well, welcome, guys. Welcome to the Battlefield family.
Thank you.
Thank you very
Looking
much.
forward to seeing you on Thursday. Right on.
So now I'm back on mute.
Okay,
I
okay.
don't know.
All right,
Alright.
anybody else out there?
I did such a good job of explaining tonight's lesson that
You did. Everybody's speechless, Art. They're just
Yeah.
taking it in. Sharon's in the house. Hey, Sharon. Kyle's mom is here. Hey.
Kyle told me today he's got 18 days here. Yeah, Casey's
Uh,
asking another question.
Well, I
And then we'll have Melissa Larson. So go ahead, Casey.
Okay.
well, we were watching a documentary about Bob Forrest yesterday, and he said something about how when he was in treatment, he went through a smaller, like more like more intimate, like closer like program, and he liked that better than a big treatment center because you can end up just like me, like at the big house sitting back of 30 people just smiling, nodding and stuff, and not really ever sharing. But so I've been trying to push myself to talk more lately, but I've noticed that being in a smaller like setting like this, it's like more intense, and I think I'm getting more out of it. Like, so like if the big house didn't really work for someone, it could just because it could be because they had like just social awkwardness or whatever. And
That's right.
being here has been a lot more successful because it's just us and you can't just like hide in the back of everyone.
Yeah.
So this program definitely I think works a lot better for me.
Yeah.
And yeah.
I think that
Okay.
part of the problem, part of the wholesale work at the big house, it was great. But I think that a lot of that became the kids getting together and kind of being cool with each other. And it was a whole culture that you needed to kind of meld yourself into. And for a lot of kids, it didn't become about treatment. It was about being part of the culture and about fitting in and about making sure they didn't ruffle any feathers or not look good or, maybe tell on someone or, maybe find a girlfriend or a boyfriend. And it just became and this is definitely a place where everyone can be themselves and kind of share more and open up. And Trevor told me that treatment with Art used to be like, just take your meds and shut up. And and I don't think that's the case here. I still wish they would shut up a lot of the time, but it's not it's not the same. I want them to shut up about, like, I just want to shut up when we want to go to bed instead of in group or anything. So yeah. And by the way, this is my parents' house, the place I got sober. And for some reason, if you just walk in this house, you get a sense that you're home. No matter what, it just feels like home. So yeah,
I live right up the street and I just come here anyway.
yes.
Having a story to go.
It's a little crowded though. You know when you had to take a family into an
My
RV.
grandma's house.
Yeah.
I love this house.
But me and my family used to go in an RV and we'd all get in an RV together, and then it gets dirty really quick, and so it is kind of crowded here. It's like living in an RV together. And yeah.
Well, I'll say as a parent, I feel like these kids and these parents, these families of these kids, I feel like they're so lucky. I know that Art's always wanted more of an intimate, small program, and it's just such a great opportunity. I think it's so beautiful, and I think they're so lucky to have it.
Plus, I don't go anywhere. I just sit here all day and watch them and make sure they don't do drugs.
Yeah, to get Art around the clock like that. I mean, parents have always wanted that, to get Art so one-on-one like that. Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Definitely.
Pretty cool.
You know what? You got a UAM, but then they might be lying to the UA, so you got to test the UA and make sure it's not.
That's true.
Yeah, we UA around here. We give a UA, then we UA the UA.
Yeah. He's not joking.
Then after we UA the UA, we send it to the lab and they UA the 3 UAs. And we still haven't believed that they're sober. We're still thinking that that's not true. So,
Yeah. All right, Melissa Larson, can we get you unmuted?
Hello.
Hey.
Hey, I just wanted to say hi and also just love that we're back to the messages, and I love the message tonight. It's a good reminder because I do feel like my life and my story have both been pretty good lately, but so it's good to remember, that's why I like to tune in every week, even when things are going good. It's just that reminder of those little pieces to kind of that I can go back to the breath. And even though that's such a simple thing, I didn't think about it this week. And school started back in session here for some teachers, not me. But so that was, a bit stressful, and totally forgot about the breath that I could have been taking. So anyways, good message tonight. And yeah, that's all.
I think that it's so important. And I don't think that I think that when our story gets really good, there's just a total forgetting to get out of our story, because it's so alluring and we just stay there and we love it. And I'll tell you, it's just like, it'll catch up to you. Like it caught up to me, and I didn't work it hard enough. And then now all of a sudden, when the story gets difficult, it traps you. And now you're laying there in bed and you're trying to breathe and you're trying to sleep, but you can't, because you think you need to fix something. So you're worried about who you need to tell that they're wrong, or who you need to go control, or whatever it is, and sleep starts getting less. And then and the other thing about this, guys, is that fatigue makes this really difficult. When we're fatigued, we go right into our story. So that's why when we're laying in bed, we can't stop fixating on our story, and we worry in bed. And when you wake up in the morning, everything feels different because there's no fatigue. So in the morning, it's just like, oh, okay. And that's why, for me, even maybe I do use food a little bit. So that's why, like 9:30 at night, when I get fatigued and my story's not good, me and the Oreos have a relationship, and that's what goes down. So, it's and that makes me feel a little better. And I think if I could just have a sleeve of those and a glass of milk, it'll put me back to sleep. But I'm still, you still can fix. Yeah, I like a whole sleeve.
That got me.
Yeah. You're an avid Oreo
I know
fan
exactly
when you
what
say
you mean.
sleeve.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't eat a cookie, I eat a sleeve of cookies. So yeah, fatigue is another thing. So you got to stay rested, and get prepared, because the story might turn bad. And when the story turns bad, you won't be able to get out if you haven't done the work, like me. And I've been trapped in my story for 2 months, and really trying to prove to everyone that I'm good is what my ambition has been. And anybody thought I was bad, I wanted to drive over to their house and then tell them why I'm good.
I never see you laugh like that. That's awesome.
Yeah, I'm good. God damn it, choking him. I'm a good person. Oh well.
Awesome.
Yeah.
All right. Anybody else out there? We got 10 minutes left. Or maybe we're ready to wrap up, Art. Your closing
No.
thoughts. What?
I want to clarify again, because we've been working on two things, and the first thing, more than two, but we've been working on this idea that the breath will let us out, and that not just the breath though, to really connect with the current moment, everything's got to light up. You got to feel it. You got to see it. You got to hear it. Sometimes taste it, smell it, all of it. That's when we're really out of our story, is when all the senses are lit up, and when everything's shut off. So we're working on that. And then, there is this idea that maybe they have figured out that the answer to whatever problem in life that we're going through, if the problem persists, whatever the problem is that is persisting, what's generally happened is your problem has become your solution. And so if the problem persists, it's because your problem has become your solution. And so drug addicts don't understand that why it's persisting is because it's actually not a problem anymore. It's turned to a solution. And codependents, people that are codependent on drug addicts and have somebody that's kind of sick in their life, what's happened is the problem of the person being sick has become our solution because we become a hero to it. And our job and our story stops. Our story kind of stops. And what happens is we take on the hero in their story. And so now we just live our life about them and about making them feel better and about fixing them. And so what happens is that the problem of drug addiction for our family members becomes our solution. And then you'll see, as a couple, you'll stop going out to dinner. You'll stop discussing your future plans. And what will you talk about? Well, you will talk about your problem, but it's actually your solution. It's your solution to engage with each other. It's your solution to distract yourself from every other thing. It's how you connect now. And I think that's one of the things that we're really looking at here is that, you know, what if drugs aren't the problem at all and they are your solution? Well, then you're in trouble because you've been focusing on this thing that's not even a problem. And that's what our minds do and that's why we repeat. And that's why we get in these patterns, because not only do we not understand what the problem is, we don't know what the problem is. And worse than not knowing what the problem is, our problem has become our solution. And that's now trapped us into this thing where we chase the problem to fix it, but it's actually our solution. So we keep sabotaging it. And so I think that, and then these kids understanding that the answer, whenever a problem persists, the answer or the solution to the actual problem is not in our own minds, and we need to seek advice elsewhere. And that's what Battlefield is about, is saying, hey, listen, seek advice elsewhere. You don't have the answer. You would already solved it. It's been 7 years. And worse than 7 years, maybe it's been 10, or maybe you're just starting out. And those are the people that we like really see at an advantage, because if you're getting here really early on, then you can not let the problem turn into your solution. You can actually just solve the issue that your loved one's having, or not solve it, but at least not make mistakes. And so, you know, that's another big thing, is this man, we're not even identifying everything as the right source, and our minds are clueless. And, you know, we just have this repetitive way of wanting to feel different and wanting to escape. And so parents of drug addicts, they want to escape, and they escape by fixing. And when I fix and it's fixed, I feel like it's fixed. So here I go trying to fix it. And then they just live this illusion that if I fix my kids, everything will be happy. Well, it just doesn't work that way. The actual thing is we never fix our story. It never gets fixed. And we just end up in this perpetual self-centeredness, you know? And that's it. This thing that I'm so self-centered in my story. It's always me, mine, what's happening to me, my kid, my money, my job, my boss. God. And then we seek a real thing rather than controlling it or changing it. We actually seek these other solutions. So I think it's a really important reminder for me. And it's a really important, everything happens for this learning, and everything happens for this leveling up in life and figuring out what the last level was and how the new level, you know, just like these games, I made it to a different level. And so now for me, it's a different level, oh, okay, I can't stop working my program because life could get difficult. My story could get difficult again. And, you know, maybe it won't, but maybe it will. And again, I want to be free when it gets difficult. Even when it gets difficult, I want to be free. I still want to have moments of joy and moments of enjoyment. And I can tell you those have been few and far between in the last couple of months. And it's just been this deep mood that is set by this eerie story, or this dark story that's going on around me. And not much light got in. And then you start working both things. You start with one hand trying to fix the story, with one hand you're breathing and trying to be more present. And so I'm back scrambling to get out. And I don't want to scramble again. Next time I want to stay out. I want to be able to look at things that are coming in my life that are difficult and just go, okay, there it is. See it and kind of attack it and stay out of the middle of it and just kind of work it that way. Now, I don't know if that's possible. So, But anyways, this has been a beautiful, beautiful journey, and people suffer, and I suffered, and whatever my story bumping into other people's story has caused suffering, and I know that, and I'm sorry for that, and I wish people didn't suffer, and I wished it, but there was never intention to hurt anyone, and I don't think we ever very much have intention, and that's when it gets bad, is when our pain turns into it. When our pain turns deep enough that we have an intention to hurt, and that's when it's bad. And we hurt people, yes, but the intention to hurt is a different story, and then we really have to deal with that. And you know, hopefully, I can keep that intention to hurt away from me, because that's when hatred turns, and I've worked my program to a point where maybe I can get there, and I hope to get there, and that's recovery. Recovery is getting rid of this intention to hurt others, and recovery is getting rid of this hatred that's inside of us that causes this stuff. And actually, all of it is, all the suffering, all of it lying over there in my story. And if I could just get out of my story for a minute and cut some carrots, if I could just, you know, if I could just get out of my story and mop the floor. If I could just go get out of my story and feel the wind while I drive in my car, well, that's relief. And, you know, isn't this all about, this whole thing, relief from suffering? And that's what we've all been doing, is trying to relieve our suffering. And you come on to Solution Group because that's what it's about. Let me get some relief from suffering. So again, this is what we're doing to get relief from suffering. And I hope that all of you join us in that this week, and kind of see that the only relief lies outside of our story rather than fixing it. It will not get fixed. And so if you can just see that to be true, then you have two available positions. You can just take this witness position and watch yourself suffer and watch yourself go through difficulty, but you don't have to go through the difficulty. You can just watch, or you can get totally free and go over and be in the current moment, or you can go even further and pray. But you have all these positions that you can go to rather than just suffer. You've got prayer, you've got really connecting with the current moment, and then you've got the witness position that you can kind of take. And all three of those are way more effective than drug use. They're way more effective than gambling. They're way more effective than hurting people. They're way more effective than dumping your pain on others. They're way more effective than intentionally hurting people. And that's what we're trying to do. But by the way, we hurt people because when we can't take these positions, we begin to complain and talk about people and talk about what they're doing wrong to us. And that hurts people too. It's not intentional. We just do it to relieve ourselves. So I think that it's beautiful. And we work a recovery program as a group of people. We work a recovery program from our story, all of us. And we say, yeah, this is how we live in our life. So again, every Tuesday, it's an honor, and I'm glad to be back. And thank you guys for tuning in. We'll see you next Tuesday.
Thank you, Art. Thank you, everybody. We'll see you next Tuesday.